gonna let everybody know exactly what's going to be going down tonight. Got to just address the slight delay in starting. Mike and
Some breaking stuff going on.
Breaking stuff. And Mike, thanks for all the hard work you've been doing today, putting this together. I don't know if people realize, but you and I have been, obviously, we're going to be talking tonight about the victim who is alleging that he was raped by Bill Clinton. And as an underage child on a yacht, you and Jenny Moore, I should say, identified this victim, a year ago?
Well, Jenny was working with this guy for probably, I say a year before that. But she couldn't get anybody to listen. She went to all the networks and nobody really wanted to listen to her. They thought she was off her rocker, which seems to be a prevailing symptom these days. Whenever you say you have something negative to say about the rich and famous, people think that you're a conspiracy theorist or you're off your rocker, and et cetera. And then years later, it turns out, oh, wait a minute, they were right. This guy is like a mad pervert, a mad deviant. Oh man, remember that? We should have listened. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, it's a symptom of American society these days, and the rich and famous use that doubt in the mainstream media to stoke that doubt, to get away with the kind of stuff that Epstein has gotten away with, and the kind of stuff that Clinton has got away with for years.
Yeah.
And this is unfinished business for me, because I was working this story with her. I went up, I interviewed the guy, and a month later, and Jenny said she was going to take everything to the FBI and to Homeland Security, and she did. She chronicled it like on her YouTube, her going into Homeland Security and talking to people and what a nightmare it was trying to get somebody to listen. And this is like, and we told this guy, hey, we're going to try to get you some. He just wants some justice. He just wants somebody to talk to him. He's got other children that have been abused in the same manner, by this elite circuit of, I mean, you can call them any kind of adjective you want, but these are the lowest of the low, and part of the challenge that we've had is trying to get folks to listen, because these people have so much power and they have so much money. But this story was supposed to come out a year ago, but what happened? Jenny died a month after she told Homeland Security about it. Literally, it was like 4 weeks. I was in New Mexico working on this book on the FBI, and she died. And I was like, wait a minute. I looked back. It was at my text with her, and it was like literally a month after she contacted the feds. And I'm like, well, we can't. The agreement was we were going to run the story like maybe a month, 6 weeks after I did the interview, but we weren't going to rush it.
Sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of people who were with us tonight who probably weren't following back then, and it's important that we let them know that even though you and Jenny have the last name, you guys are not related.
No, we're not related. It's funny, back then she went by Task Force.
Right.
That was her name, and I was Thomas Paine. Nobody even knew at that time my real identity. Right. It wasn't for a couple more weeks that happened that I had my quote-unquote coming out party, so to speak. But getting back to what I was saying, this is unfinished business. So a lot of people came out and said, because we wrote stories. I wrote a story saying, hey, we were working on this, and now she's dead. And what the hell? And people came out and said, oh, there is no victim, and this is all fabricated, and this guy's a charlatan, and this, that, fake news, this, that, and the other thing. And I just sat back because the victim said, I don't want the story out now. I mean,
and that after she was killed, right?
She's dead, and they were friends for a long time. And she was literally helping the guy out in life. It wasn't just like she was a journalist. She was like trying to get the guy on track and get him therapy and get him back on, so that he doesn't end up like a lot of these kids do, hooked on opioids or worse, or found or not found, found somewhere laying and dead or not found at all. They just vanished. So she had been working hard with that, and he said, "No way, Jose. Like, we're not going to do this story." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." Um, and I've checked back in with him. It's been hard to keep track of him because he's still trying to get back on track. But we broke the news on here last week about Linda Collins Smith, about the feds looking at her murder, and I started to think, well, maybe it's time to get this back out, because I told him, even when we spoke recently, you're more protected when this is out. Like, Linda Collins Smith had all this stuff she was working on.
Right.
The feds told us that she was working on stuff with child pornography that linked into some kind of a trafficking scheme what the state was involved in. And she was like saving all this up for, I guess, to give to somebody or to expose in one big, like, boom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where people make a mistake. If you have something, and I had this conversation with Jenny, I said, she wanted to wait and see what the feds would do. And you'll see tonight when we play the parts of the interview, I lay out to this guy exactly how it's going to go. It's not like, this isn't like some bad journalism thing. I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. And this is how we think it's going to play out. She wants to go to the feds. We're going to take it to the feds. We're not going to do anything until you go to the feds and see what they do. Because you don't want to publicize, the feds are looking at, you don't want to publicize this that the feds are going to look at it, because it tips off the principles of an investigation. So you don't want to give the principals a heads up. But my school of thought was, let's just put it out. I mean, this is a big story, and he's safer and you're safer if it goes out. Now, her death has been suspicious. People say a lot of things. She died natural causes, whatever. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But this is what she was working on for a long time. This is one of many kids that she was working with. I say kids, I mean, they're young men and in some cases young women who claim that they've been abused for a long time. So we're getting into some real touchy stuff here, and it's understandable why mainstream media won't pursue these kind of things. And if anybody thinks out there we can just slap this up on YouTube, they're out of their minds.
Yeah.
This would be shut down so fast. I mean, give me
As
a break.
would the entire YouTube channel. And Mike, sorry to interrupt, but I want to let everybody know, there's an intensity level that you have stepped up onto this today like I've never seen before. There were lawyers involved. There was a lot of back and forth that had to occur for this to happen. And it also is not just a snap of the fingers. I want people to know I've never seen this video before. I just received it today, and we've been feverishly processing it. It's literally right now encoding in the background. So it should be done just in time. Right now, we have about 22 minutes until we're going to begin on patreon.com/truepundit and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, as well as subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. So it's looking like the thing is going to be ready just in time. You had given me a series of notes as far as names that we wanted redacted. I've been through that.
And here's the deal, right?
Yeah.
This is the big deal. It's got to get out because it's unfinished business. If something happens to this guy now, I got that on my shoulders, and the whole intention was it was supposed to roll. Like, we didn't want to save this thing up. The feds has never lifted a finger. So when I see these guys yesterday come barreling in and saying, "Oh, we have a hotline, call 1-800-EPSTEIN" or whatever the hell it is, and if you've seen something, say something, and we're looking for victims, I'm like, you had this and you did nothing with it. So let's see if you do something with it now. Or is this just, we've talked about it on this show so many times, and we've broken so much news on this show, way more news recently than we have just on True Pundit. And I like it. I like this format. Are they going to do anything with it? Okay? Like, if you call up the feds and you say, I was molested by Epstein, is anything going to really happen? Or are they using it? I know this sounds cynical, nobody said it, but so far I've been basically right. Are they using it as an intel gathering process to minimize exposure to the rich and famous?
Right.
I know that sounds a little bit crazy. Not really, though, when you look at the track record. It's not that crazy. Because they had this for a year. They still haven't reached out to the guy. And and he's a little spooked. I mean, obviously, wouldn't you be spooked?
Well, of course, but the thing that I've got in mind, because, when I was sitting at that press conference yesterday and the FBI, the guy who was the lead for the FBI running the press conference said they're looking for more victims to come forward, I thought, well, if we take it right to this guy, perhaps we're in a different climate now than when Jenny Moore initially brought it in. And I don't know if she went straight to the top. She might have gone in, who knows where these protectors are in the,
Well, she had some contacts. She did like a shotgun approach. She went through contacts, and then she literally walked in the front door of Homeland Security. They have a specialized division that handles child trafficking, and she has videos on her page that's still up. Last time I checked on YouTube, and they treated her like a leper. She literally, it was amazing. She was like talking to a metal wall with like little holes in it, like she was in prison. To somebody who was working intake, and she's trying, and I'm like, what is this? Is this like, if you have some, see something, say something, and be put in an intimidating prison environment, go through a metal detector, and you have to put down your birth date and your social security number. It's like, can't I just tell you about this? Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? So what is happening? So we've proven they didn't do jack squat. Okay. The onus is supposed to be on them to investigate this stuff. I had to sit on this for a year, almost a year. Okay.
Yeah.
For almost a year while watching this nonsense play out in the Supreme Court about a guy who drank beer in high school and this, that, and the other thing,
right.
raping women, that was completely fabricated, and they wanted to get the FBI in to vet Kavanaugh again six or seven times. This came from the Senate. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so maybe it's beneficial that we waited, because what's your excuse now not for talking to this guy and investigating his allegations? Like, as journalists, we have to be able to somewhat vet the allegations before you just run wild with them. You can't be like half the other people on both sides of the media that are completely out of control. You have to vet these things, and if you think they're credible, you have to follow a certain chain, right? Jen followed the certain chain. Nothing happened, okay? So I spoke with the source. I said, we're putting this out. Like, you're in danger, man. You are simply in danger if this is not out at this point, especially now with this guy getting pinched. There's a lot of nervous people. You don't know what's going to happen. And to a certain degree, my butt's on the line too. Not a big deal. My ass has been on the line my whole career, whether it's in intel or journalism. But for a guy who already has emotional issues and is struggling, it's something that he doesn't need on his plate. So we're going to start rocking and rolling tonight. And however it plays out, I could give two hoots about me or anything else. The platform, this and that. I don't care. I stopped caring about that a long time ago. This isn't about anything about ego or platform. This is about something this is unfinished business, and I've clearly explained how it's unfinished business, and we're going to finish this up. One way or another, we're going to finish it up.
Yep. So, Mike, we've still got about 6 minutes on this encode over here of the video footage. So we'll have that ready when we make the move over to patreon.com/truepundit, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. This will literally be hot off the press. For people who are not familiar with Jenny Moore, aka Task Force, as Mike said, her YouTube channel is still there, and if you just go on YouTube and search for Task Force Whistleblower's Journey live in DC, her videos are there, and people can go back and follow the story. My computer is performing very slowly right now because it's processing the video that we're going to be running at 9:30 p.m. on Patreon. And people who are watching us for the first time tonight, Mike Moore of True Pundit and I are doing a show every Tuesday night, usually at 8 p.m., and it's called More Paine. We've been a little bit delayed tonight, just getting everything in order to be able to properly release this video, and everyone's going to be seeing it for the first time along with me. and we've got just about 5 minutes to go. So I hope that people will make their way over to Patreon. This is a very good way for us to avoid the censorship that's happening on YouTube, the social engineering attacks that are happening on YouTube. And Mike, this story has subjected both you and I to social engineering attacks. Happened yesterday on the street. So there's cyber stalking, there's stalking in real life, accosting me on the street, calling me names, coming up to me, antagonizing me. There's people who don't want this information out.
That's the way it is. Welcome to journalism. Welcome to 2019. That's
Right.
the way these people are out of control.
People are talking about James Comey's daughter being on the prosecution team. It does seem like a problem, doesn't it? A junior prosecutor like that, she can't recuse herself, can she? But she should be reassigned.
DOJ works interesting ways. If you're talking with female victims, sometimes you need a female to go in there. They might have grabbed her, and she might be a good person that's able to bring stuff out of witnesses and be able to coax witnesses to talk. It's hard.
Got to be other women working there, no?
Well, I don't make the decisions. It does seem very suspect, but I'm saying it is what it is. That's another subject. But can we cut off now? And
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's end the stream now. We'll let this finish. We'll be back on at 9:30. We'll see everybody on patreon.com/truepundit, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. This is going to be the first time anyone has seen this testimony of a victim who alleges he was raped from the ages of as young as 8, right? Is that right? When he was a boy, as young as 8.
He was a young boy in Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah, and then through the age of 12, he describes torture, all kinds of very, and we should also say,
you better be ready. You better,
yes,
put your seatbelt on, or don't get in the car at all on this one, because it's one of those things that'll just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not for children.
And we've cut out a lot of stuff that was completely stuff you can't even probably put on the internet or anywhere else. It's like, so this is even toned down.
Yeah. So we'll be back in just about 12 minutes. We'll see everybody over there on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Mike, I'll see you in a few minutes.